Hi, my name is Leah Day, and welcome to this video for the Free Motion Quilting Project. Today we're going to learn another new design, and really I've been sketching a lot, I've been spending a lot of time thinking of new designs, and I've got hundreds to share with you, and quite frankly I'd really like to start sharing these with you a little bit more quickly. But the problem is, stitching them out for the very first time in an actual quilt, like Express Your Love, is not really the best idea, because I have no idea what these textures are going to look like. I have no idea if they're even going to fit and fill into the space easily. And so I could be basically throwing something on this quilt and jumping into it with both feet and end up, that's actually an empty pool and I'm not very happy with what just happened. So I'm feeling the need to go back to the 4-inch square, at least for new designs, stitching something out and playing with it, making sure that it is something that's going to, number one, work, and number two, knowing what that texture looks like so that way I can best figure out where she should go in the quilt. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to learn a new foundational design. This is called Inside the Sun, and it's a really cool combination of foundations. It's going to be something that really works well in kind of the open, uncomplicated areas of this quilt. I would not use this design in the background. I would use this design maybe in her hair. That would be a really good fit for it. But let's just try it out and make sure that this is going to work first off. So you can see here on the machine, I have my little 4-inch square ready to go. I marked it, and then I've also stitched the outline. So the very first step of any foundational design is to set your foundation, and that's what I'm going to do next. This design starts with just simply a wiggly curve. This is the foundation, and this is a really cool design in that it has actually two foundations. This is going to be the first side. So that's really kind of setting the stage for the texture over here, and all that texture is just simple echoing lines. So all I'm going to do is just travel stitch along the edge of the quilting space and run an echoing line back and forth through this space. And the inspiration for this, Inside the Sun, of course you know sun symbols are really my favorite symbols, mostly because of my last name Day. But more than anything else, for the power of that symbol. I absolutely love them. And so whenever I'm sketching, I often find that suns end up being something that I draw a lot. And I started playing with different ways of filling them. I always like rows and rows of echo quilting like this. I just think that that's really beautiful. So I would continue to fill up this whole space with lines of echo quilting, but I really want to show you the opposite side of this design too. Let me come over here. And basically we're going to work along this foundation, and sorry I keep flipping this around. Do understand that this is the joy of a 4-inch square. You can move it, you can rotate it. That is the point of stitching out a sample, is that it's easy and it's contained. No, I would not be flipping a quilt around this quickly, but that doesn't mean that you can't rotate a quilt often in order to get a good advantage and be able to see what you're working on. So understand that a 4-inch square is always a good place to start. It's always a good thing to work on because you have such freedom of movement. Okay, so getting back to this, we're going to work along this foundation and we're going to create those flaming sun rays. And basically all I'm going to do is just stitch out. Just basically going to flame out. Really, it's however many times, however many flames that you can fit working along your foundation. And it's the foundation that sets the texture more than anything else. Now I ended up over here, so I'm going to travel stitch back. And the second step of this design, since we're working on this side of it, is to travel stitch and just echo inside those flames. Now I've got this little weird area right here, so I'm going to just fill it back and forth. That's just fine. But I'm going to go in here and echo to that point, come to a point and bounce back down, travel stitch again. So we're filling up that little gap. And you know, this is the cool thing about foundational designs, is that they are infinitely changeable. If you didn't like filling this area with more echoing lines, if echoing feels challenging for you, you could always fill these shapes with something completely different. You don't have to fill them with echoes. You could fill them with micro stippling, and then that whole design would look very, very different, and that could be even a different name. because of course it would read differently on your quilt. Wherever you put it, those areas of micro stippling will definitely stand out against all these lines of echo quilting. So you can see this is just very repetitive movements. Echo quilting is one of those things that as you build skill with it, the way to build skill is just to find designs that force you to do a lot of echo quilting. Okay, once we come on the outside, now this is the last step of the design. We're going to echo back and forth along the outside. So let's say that you were filling this into a circular shape. You would first fill your foundational line, echo quilt to one side of it, then do your flames, fill inside of your flames, and then work your way outside and continue to expand these flame shapes until they filled up your space completely. And what this is already making me think of is how wonderful this texture would look in her hair. I think that this would be a really nice design to stitch in the hair of Express Your Love, because we've got those nice white channels. I think it would work really well in that. Now you notice that sometimes my echo quilting isn't perfect. Sometimes my lines come a little closer, sometimes they're a little farther apart. I find personally that sometimes if I've spent several days off the machine, that I'll come back to it, and it's a little bit like riding a bike. I get a little rusty, so my echo quilting might not be as absolutely perfect as it can be if I haven't been stitching that way, or stitching designs with echo quilting in a few days. So understand that this is kind of a muscular skill. Once you learn it, you've got it. But sometimes you can get a little rusty, and as you stitch more, like let's say you're stitching echoes, as you stitch more echoes, of course, you'll kind of get more control over it. And also remember that perfection is not the key here. It's not the point, it's not the purpose. And that even for my, let's call them mistakes, even though they're not, even for my mistakes in the areas where my lines get closer together or further apart, even for those areas, I think that they actually add a nice additional texture because they're not perfect. They look like the sun. They look like a real swirling flame. There we go. So you can see how the contrast of textures, and yes, I'm travel stitching quite a bit to get back over here so you can see. The contrast of textures here is just beautiful. We're going to fill this space completely with more echoing lines of quilting. Over here we've got this nice intense flame-like texture. It's really a beautiful combination, and all based off a simple foundation. So that's it for this design. I really hope that you'll get on your machine and give Inside the Sun a try. It's a very simple design, but of course if you're struggling with echo quilting, this would actually be a good design to play with, even if it doesn't look perfect, even if your lines go in and out or wiggly wobbly. It doesn't matter. Do understand that the beginning of free motion can often feel like you're a child learning how to write, and that's literally what your brain is doing. You are building new muscles and new mechanisms within your brain for moving the quilt under your needle. It's kind of like if you, we don't learn how to write this way, but if you kind of mounted a pen upright and moved the paper underneath the pen, you know, it would be an entirely different process of learning how to write that way. So understand that that's essentially what we're doing on our machine as we quilt this way when you're using a domestic sewing machine. So give yourself kind of a break from perfection and allow yourself to learn this and be gentle. You know, don't beat yourself up for every single mistake because there's really no point to it. You're not going to get better at it for being mean to yourself. So that's it for this video. My name is Leah Day, and this has been a video for the Free Motion Quilting Project. Find hundreds of other videos on free motion quilting designs, lots of inspiration, and of course, stitching out Express Your Love, all at freemotionproject.com. Until next time, let's go quilt. So my name is Leah Day. This has been a video for the Free Motion Quilting Project. Find hundreds of other videos on designs at freemotionquilting.com. No, that is not my website address. Okay, here we go.